Good afternoon to our friends on the East Coast and good morning to our friends on the West Coast. My name is Murid Amini, Business Development Director at Energy Print.
And my name is Deb Oxnem, Strategic Accounts Director at Energy Print. Thank you for joining us in our webinar, Energy Benchmarking, Why Should I Care? We put this session together because we are often asked by current and prospective customers, why should I benchmark my building energy performance? Or why should I track my utility data? We'll spend some time today going over a few reasons why you should care about benchmarking. But before we get started, Murid will review some housekeeping items with you.
Right, so this audience is muted on the webinar just to ensure we don't hear any background or feedback. If you guys do have a question or comment, feel free to use the chat function shown on the picture to the right. You can click the chat drop down and then select organizers and panelists so that both Deb and I can see and address your questions. If your question is relevant to our current slide, we may stop and point something out or answer it. Otherwise, we'll have time at the end to address all questions. While this meeting is booked for an hour, we expect it to last roughly 30 minutes, give or take how long Q&A is. And with that, I'd like to go on to our presentation and start with a story to get us thinking about adapting to changing environments. So let's look at a change within another sector, retail. In the retail industry, e-commerce sales have doubled as a percentage of total worldwide retail sales from 7% in 2014 to 15% in 2019. Now that's things like buying on your mobile apps or buying via the internet. This trend is expected to continue with up to a third of total retail sales occurring online and via mobile in the next decade, which you should see on the chart here. The blue line indicates the growing percentage of total retail that's mobile, and the black bars show the growing dollars that amounts to. Now, let's see how some familiar companies have reacted to this change. Sears, JCPenney, and Macy's were all doing pretty well, and the business was booming, people were buying from them, and they feel the need to change the status quo. Target and Best Buy, however, reacted differently. They knew that in the short term, business is great, but this wouldn't be sustainable in the future. So they realized that the industry is changing. They also recognized the risk of not doing anything. They saw the mobile changes and they embraced it as the new front door to retail and accepted it as part of their shopping experience. As such, they made an investment in digital capabilities and technologies in order to react to this change. They shifted their merchandising and marketing to be more meaningful, relevant, and useful. So think of any time you've gone to Target, you pull open your Circle app, it's going to give you relevant and meaningful coupons. It'll show you where your products are located within the store, and their store tracks where their customers are shopping in order to continue to evolve the physical layout to be relevant to where people are spending their time. In this way, they differentiated from their competitors in the face of this change, and they innovated to protect against the industry disruptor, in this case, the online retail. So let's look at the results. As you can see on the bottom right corner, JCPenney, Macy's, and Sears kept it business as usual with little investment on innovation. As a result, they've all closed hundreds of stores across the US and have either gone bankrupt or are on the brink of bankruptcy. Meanwhile, if you look on the top right, Target and Best Buy have grown significantly. Best Buy has doubled in the last 5 years in total company value, and Target is on its way there by 2020. So when we think about this example of keeping the status quo, or do we innovate to react to a changing environment, let's think about the changing environment when it comes to building energy consumption and performance. Yes, our industry has a backlog of projects and service contracts for you to pursue today, but our changing physical environment and the regulatory landscape are going to force us to focus on utility consumption, cost, and carbon footprint. As we think about should we innovate or not, the question we have to ask ourselves is, should we be like Macy's, JCPenney, and Sears and do nothing because business is good right now Or do we spend some time and energy to make ourselves more competitive for the future? And that's where benchmarking comes in. Now, before we go into why we should benchmark, let's review a few definitions. First, we talk about utility data. And when we say utility data, we're referring to information gathered directly from utility bills. This can include cost, usage, demand charges, taxes, or meter and account information. Energy Print is an industry leader in pulling this data with over 99.5% accuracy. Our data team saves you time because they collect bills directly from the utility company and they validate each entry. This means your valuable engineering time isn't spent on data entry. Next, we want to talk about utility data tracking. Quite simply, it's just the continuous pulling and entering of utility data into a single database so that you're tracking it over time. And that leads us to what is benchmarking. Quite simply, benchmarking means measuring a building's energy use and then comparing it to the average for similar buildings. It allows owners and service providers to understand their building's relative energy performance and helps identify opportunities to cut energy waste. The great thing is the Energy Print's utility dashboard does this for you. Now, I'll hand it over to Deb to talk about why we should benchmark.
Thanks, Murid. So when creating this presentation to answer the question, why benchmark, we thought we would start with why we do what we do here at Energy Print. Energy Print strives to help you reach your sustainability goals to win in a competitive market. And we do this by keeping you aware and engaged in building performance. We have a dashboard that acts as your energy expert and continuous benchmarking tool. And it's supported by real people who guide you through your sustainability journey. We work directly with property managers and owners or indirectly with HVAC and service companies. Benchmarking helps our direct customers to improve building performance, save money on utility bills, comply with ordinances, decrease carbon footprint, and eliminate energy waste. And in some cases, we can apply for certifications like Energy Star and LEED. And in fact, I just got notified by Energy Star today that one of my buildings is going to be certified. Our indirect customers that are HVAC and service companies leverage Energy Print's benchmarking to help their customers in these ways. The added benefits are retaining existing customers through our valuable service, really getting sticky and remaining with that client, serving and growing their customer base, innovating to continue to drive value, and differentiating to provide unique, best-in-class service. This all starts with utility bill data. Utility bills act as a universal language amongst all stakeholders that you can use as the jumping off point for making strategic decisions to make building improvements. After improvements are made, utility data will serve as a universal language now to illustrate how your building improvements paid off. And then the cycle begins again. We saw a disconnect between building decision makers and those that maintain and operate buildings. We also saw that engineers did not have the time to consistently track and analyze utility data in order to support the decision-making process. So we created a dashboard to act as your energy expert and visualize your utility data. We took over the responsibility of collecting and recording the utility data to save engineering time for the analysis. Something we do a bit differently than our competitors is we connect real people with our clients to act as guides of the dashboard and ongoing collection of utility data. We all know that you can't improve what you don't measure, and you can't measure what you don't track. Our clients become believers in benchmarking because it is the best place to start on the sustainability journey, and in some cases, they adopt it as part of their corporate culture. To illustrate this, I'd like to tell you about HOM Furniture and 75F. HOM Furniture benchmarks their utility and energy performance data with Energy Print. From Energy Print's utility dashboard, HOM Furniture identified that energy was one of their top 3 operating expenses. This led them to invest in a cost-effective solution with 75F. Benchmarking allowed them to identify their Plymouth property as the worst performer, so they installed controls and smart thermostats to allow for remote monitoring, scheduling, and setback capabilities. HOM was looking to provide comfort for their customers on the showroom floor while maintaining consistency in demand and eliminating energy waste. So HOM understands the energy performance of their buildings and was looking to find ways to trim their annual utility spend. And they do that by benchmarking utility and energy performance data and installing controls and equipment to optimize aging equipment performance. We have a lot of great success stories and case studies from our customers. HOM Furniture is one of the most recent, and unlike other stories, this one takes us full circle on vision of why continuous benchmarking is important. It also illustrates how we work with our direct and indirect clients all in one story. And now I'd like to show you the results using snapshots from our dashboard. On this slide, we can see the current 12 months compared to the previous 12 months view of electric consumption for the Plymouth property. The value of benchmarking and visualizing the utility data is to illustrate the building performance over time, including the impact of projects. Please remember that all dashboard visuals are based on utility bill data. I'd like to draw your attention to September 2018 to see that this is when 75F was installed. We consider this as the end of the baseline period, and you can see immediate improvement in the electric consumption for this building. The RTUs are all operational and working more efficiently now, and the smart thermostats are building automation have provided the tools needed to centrally control the demand in the buildings. No more cranking the thermostat locally. Using the dashboard, HOM Furniture can show the impact of their investment and the potential value it could bring to the rest of their building portfolio. That trend line looked really great, but the benefit of benchmarking continuously is the ability to compare previous to current performance. Here are the current 12 months compared to the previous 12-month period from a percent change perspective. You can see that cost and consumption are down considerably. And when I look at these results, I think, what a great conversation this must have been. HOM saved 18% in cost and reduced usage by 24%, thus eliminating that energy waste. Not only are the numbers incredible, but all parties can be confident in their accuracy because they are based on the utility bill data for the building. Using our dashboard weather normalization and cost avoidance tools, here's the bottom line. This is a great viewpoint from consulting with leadership because it illustrates the financial impact of the projects they invested in. Using the utility data in the baseline period ending at the time 75F was installed, we can show the impact of the project on consumption and cost. Weather normalized, the cost avoidance is $56,000, and HOM and 75F have exceeded their ROI expectations. Again, using utility data as the universal language, you can use the dashboard to easily visualize your wins. And as a bonus, although not a goal of the original project, the changes in consumption have caused the Energy Star score for this building to rise to a level eligible for Energy Star certification. Energy Print automates your connection to Energy Star and continuously updates Portfolio Manager as new bills come in. We have the ability to create Energy Star accounts for you and pass on the credentials, or we can connect to existing accounts. Now, the tracking of utility data does not stop here. The cycle continues because these buildings and equipment are not going to stop aging. So why would you stop tracking the utility data? Tracking the utility data over time will provide a consistent view of building performance, enable continued energy conversations, and maintain a mutual understanding for improvement opportunities. So we've talked about why you should benchmark your buildings, and not just do it once, but continuously as part of a culture of innovation to win in a competitive market. We showed you why Energy Print tracks utility data and provided one of many great customer success stories. HOM Furniture became aware of their energy performance and identified their lowest performing building. They decided to focus on cost and comfort and worked with 75F to install controls and optimize old equipment. They leveraged benchmarking to measure and verify utility savings and ROI, and since then have reinvested the savings to deploy similar solutions in their other properties. Not only did benchmarking help HOM meet their sustainability goals, the success of the project was proven in the utility costs, and 75F grew their presence with HOM when the project extended to the rest of the HOM Furniture buildings. Now, you may find this hard to believe, but despite the obvious advantages of benchmarking, there are still non-believers out there. And Murid will show you some of the concerns they bring up and how using a company like Energy Print addresses all of them.
Thanks, Steph. Appreciate that. So one of the questions that I hear often from people is, I don't know how to use this data or what it means, and I don't have the expertise to do anything with it. And that's perfect. That's just fine. Very few people do, and there's no point trying to seek them out. Instead, you can rely on Energy Print and our utility dashboard to be your energy expert. We visualize the data, so from the boiler room to the boardroom, everyone across the company can understand what's going on with their buildings. I rarely hear someone say that they can't afford to benchmark, but I do often hear a concern with the ability to support this as a program, with placing the right resource and finding the right amount of time to support this. Here's why Energy Print makes that easy. Our dedicated customer success managers onboard and then review your buildings on a recurring basis to identify for you where the building performance can be improved. And if you're a service provider, where you can make recommendations to your customers with real information to back it up. Another thing we hear is that, well, I already get a summary report from my utility company, and that's great. More information is helpful. But tracking it once a year isn't enough. In fact, if I give you a one-page graph with some basic kilowatt hour information, at best you can see some seasonality. There really isn't much insight or detail against which you can act on. Also, focusing solely on one report that you get once a year leads to the original two problems. One, you may not know what the data means or what to do about it. And two, you may not have the time or resources to focus on it. And that's why it's helpful to come back to Energy Print, because we address those concerns. And finally, we're asked, how is this different from interval or real-time data? And it is different. It's actually quite complementary. Where interval data or real-time data looks at very specific equipment level performance, neither provide cost or carbon footprint data, and they also don't provide whole building health. And there's also no clear, easy to understand way for a decision maker to get what's going on in the building and what to spend money and resources on. So recall with HOM Furniture, real-time data was complementary to our monthly utility bill data. We simply promote utility tracking and benchmarking as the best place to start on your sustainability journey. So to loop back on why should I benchmark, why should I care about benchmarking? What we see with a lot of our customers is compliance with ordinances is usually the start of a company's sustainability. New corporate-wide sustainability initiative, this is where people typically start that journey. Larger companies that have a higher service maturity or are further along their journey realize that by benchmarking with Energy Print, there's significant cost savings, not only because we've uncovered ways to save on utility costs, but also the fact that they don't need to use expensive engineering time to manually type data into Excel or to create visuals that are presentation ready. And those who truly get it adopt benchmarking as part of their larger culture of sustainability and service excellence. Properties that are benchmarking see higher lease rates and higher occupancy, along with utility cost savings. Service providers that offer benchmarking for their customers have a differentiated service that helps them compete and retain those customers. When we show you where to save utility consumption and you act on it to save money, you're also saving carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. Essentially, we win, you win, and the environment wins. So on that note, to wrap this presentation up, we have a challenge for you, a little bit of a homework. Think about 5 buildings that you would like to start benchmarking within the week, and let us know so that we can get those started for you. As an added bonus, any buildings added before the end of the month will receive a 10% discount. We'll follow up by sending some material after the call, including the home furniture case study, a 2-minute video which you can share with your stakeholders, and a recording of this webinar that you can share. We'll follow up in the next week to talk about onboarding your 5 buildings. With that, I'd like to thank you guys for listening in on our webinar here and would open the floor to any questions. Once again, you can click the chat drop-down and select organizers and panelists and type in your question.
I think one of the questions that we get on a regular basis is asking about, why would I, to elaborate more on why I would use the dashboard instead of interval data. And I think from our perspective, as you just talked about, Murid, is a place for people to come together on the same page and understand the health of the building and look for opportunities for improvement. And then interval data can really complement that because you can start to drill in to what different problems could be causing what you're seeing in the utility dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. What I find is it's actually, not only is it the best place to start, it's also the simplest and cheapest because Energy Print does not require any specific software installations or hardware installations. We're a web-based platform. And all we do is get our data off the utility bills. We do complex analytics and we visualize it in an easy to understand way. So rather than installing, equipment against your meters or against, larger HVAC equipment, a good place to start is with Energy Print, like Home Furniture. They're able to see where's my worst performer, where are my limited dollars spent up front in order to have the biggest bang for the buck.
And to come up with a great plan. Yeah, great. Throwing it out there for any other questions at this time. All right, well, it looks like we're going to wrap it up.
Wait, hold on. I think we have one question here. Hold on just a second.
Technology, everybody.
I have one question. Is there a library of case studies for me to pull information from, or is it company? Hold on just a second. Again, technology is wonderful. Give me just a second.
So to answer the first part of the question, yes, we have case studies on our website, and we can send out a link to where those are located for you. And then, and that was the end of the question.
Yeah, or is it company specific?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll send out, including our information that we'll send out after the webinar, we'll include a link for where exactly you'd be able to see those case studies. There's other information in there as well. We have several videos about our dashboard, for example, and other use cases. And then from a benchmarking perspective overall, Energy Star has quite a few case studies as well. So if you ever have any questions on those types of things, we can help guide you to those case studies also.
Thanks. I think before we wrap, I just want to leave people with, think about this. Our challenge is to find 5 buildings, new buildings that you want to benchmark to help prove where the performance can be improved. You can email back. When we send you an email, you can reply to that, or you can call us. The phone number is located on this next slide. Encourage you to ask us about anything. We can give you a demo of the dashboard. We can create an annual report for your building and show you how your building's doing. we can also introduce you to some of the newer things we're doing. Case in point, one of the new products and services that we've rolled out is utility bill audits, where we look for opportunities to save you either on your utility bill rates or if there's any kind of refund or credit that we can apply for nonprofits. So definitely some great things happening. Do reach out to us. Otherwise, we will follow up in the next week to ask about your 5 buildings.
All right. Thanks, everyone.